Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Leadership Brief. I am Jason Safford, the Resilience Architect, and I am grateful for the opportunity to present to you this morning. I want to start with a very tense moment with a bang. A violent thud shakes the aircraft, then another, and in an instant, the cockpit is filling with warning lights. The engines surge and then fall eerily silent. The smell of burned birds fills the cabin. The airplane begins to lose altitude. 90 seconds ago, this was a routine departure from New York's LaGuardia Airport. And now the Airbus A320, carrying 155 people, has become a 140,000-pound glider over one of the most densely populated cities in the world. The alarms are relentless. The checklist is incomplete. Air traffic control is asking questions. Passengers have no idea what's happening. Every second matters. Every decision carries the weight of 155 lives. Fear is present. Adrenaline is flooding every system in the human body. This is what the moment where most people would react. But Captain Chelsea Sullenberger does something extraordinary. He doesn't surrender to the chaos. He doesn't allow panic to become the pilot. He breathes steady. His voice remains calm, and his training overcomes his emotion. And in the space between stimulus and response, leadership emerges. Because in the moment of crisis, the greatest threat is rarely the event itself. The greatest threat is allowing unchecked emotion to make your next decision. So today we're going to step into that cockpit, not to study aviation, but to understand the timeless principles that every leader will eventually face. Unchecked emotion is the energy. All right. Forgive me here, a little bit of technical difficulty. So again, every day our focus is on one word, one intention, and one thing that will allow you to lead better each day. Distraction was the first episode. The second was reaction. Now we're looking at unchecked emotion in the progress of what leadership is really about. So the first question to ask yourself is, who is leading your decisions? Is it your principles or your emotions? And this is one of the great challenges because, again, thinking about distraction and how quickly you can get away from your principles, being able to check your emotions is one of the most critical things in leadership. Understand that emotions aren't the enemy. Unchecked emotions are the enemy. So here we have a routine departure on January 15, 2009. Captain Sullenberger is just going through the checklist. It's a cold morning, but everything's normal. They take off, and suddenly, boom, the birds, the cockpit, the impact. And now he's faced with a critical decision of how is he going to land this plane and save the 155 souls on board. Both engines have failed, so he's basically a glider dropping in the sky, and he's got to find a place to land quickly. And again, turning back to the airport isn't going to do it. He's over the Hudson River. He makes an executive decision. It's his aircraft. He's not going to panic. No emotion. He just shows leadership in terms of finding a place that he can touch down. So again, in that moment, Captain Sullenberger was able to check his emotions, even with all the people screaming on board, all the lights going off on his, or in his cockpit, all the sounds going on. He was able to weed out the distraction, get everything to the side and focus completely on the task at hand, which was landing that plane safely. So understand, emotion is not the enemy. Emotion is information, but being able to check it to determine whether or not it becomes instruction or it becomes distraction, that's the key. So when we think about the emotional leadership loop, this is your operating system for today. You have an event, you have emotion. You need to pause, take a deep breath, gain perspective on what's happening, and then you make a decision to act. That creates an outcome. And again, the next event, you're processing as you're going with each step. So the algorithm that you're learning today is called pause. You're going to pause, acknowledge, understand, stabilize, and execute. So in that time period between when the emotion first hits you and when you have to make a decision, that is the pause. You are acknowledging your emotion. You are understanding that you are responsible for what the information is, the emotion is feeding to you, and you have to stabilize that feeling so that you can execute. So the reflection today is to think about how emotions hijack your leadership and how do you notice it hijacking your leadership? Do you feel it as a physical change in your body? It could be your heart racing, it could be heat, it could be shaking, tremors. And can you think about taking a pause when that happens? All right. So having a discussion with someone today, 3 minutes, find someone that you can discuss where you have had an emotional reaction and how you've had to control your response. This is an opportunity for you to think about what exactly goes into the triggers and the actions and being able to identify that pause and how to respond to it. Your daily commitment today before 12 o'clock, I want you to focus on pausing for one particular action before you respond. And again, as always, we have a word of the day that we have to write down our intention. Today, my word is composed. You will write down your word for how you are going to lead this day. In Win Your Day, the book, obviously we have a number of algorithms that we're learning. In this case, we're focusing on how knowledge, practice, and identity become leadership. So think about the process that we're learning here is that as you gain knowledge and you're able to practice that knowledge, you form an identity, and that becomes part of your leadership. Tomorrow, we will be focused on assumption as the enemy. This is one of the great challenges of leaders is the natural tendency to assume. And we know what happens when you assume. That is right. So tomorrow we'll be focused on assumption as the enemy. Again, I want to thank you for your participation today. I am Jason Safford. You can find out more about the Resilience Universe at resilienceuniverse.com. Win Your Day, the blueprint for human reinvention, is at www.winyourdaybook.com. And as always, you can reach out to me at jasonsafford@gmail.com. Again, I want to thank you. Have a wonderful day. And as always, go out there and win your day.